Okay, welcome to our today's class. I very warmly welcome to my all audience on Facebook and also on the Zoom session. Today we are going to have two sessions, quick session, almost of half an hour each session. And the first session we will doing of our online course, which we are doing from last couple of months actually, is basically for advanced listening skill, how we can develop and how it has significance in our personal and professional and family and social life. So that's we will continue to read. Our second session will be on a new series which we are starting from today, uh, about our intellectual and spiritual work of Eckhart Tolle's, and that is the freedom from the pain body, how we can get rid of the old pains and suffering in our personal, family, social, psychological life that we are going to start today. So, without going into our session delay, I want to introduce myself for people who don't know me. My name is Maratib, and I usually conduct online sessions every Sunday on different topics and very wide range, from business development to personal development to spiritual development, and that's how we do. So let's come back to our this session of our class on advanced listening skill. So these, if you see the screen, there are, yeah, so these are many topics which we covered already, but you don't need to worry because every topic is a separate, however, they are interlinked, they are connected with each other, but you can also take every topic as a separate topic. So like today's topic is actually effect of emotions on listening. That is the main thing, uh, and how it is important for my personal, professional, and family life or social life as well. Basically, this is a section which we are trying to reduce the barrier between the talker and the listener, the speaker and the listener. And that has been very poorly executed in our whole life, because in school, college, university, nobody taught us how to listen. Uh, Listening is a skill which is ignored, and that has been flashed by author Madeline Burley Allen, who wrote this wonderful book, Listening the Forgotten Skill. And I will be taking some of the paragraph from this book. And so by joining my session, you will also reading many legend books, many privileged books, many influential book on deepest and wide range of topic. So let's go to the topic, and we will going to read couple of paragraphs from the book so that we can understand what is the relationship of emotions and my listening capacity. Uh, has anybody noticed that while we are listening someone, sometimes we become emotional and too emotional, and this emotional take us to some out of the context situation in past history, in some painful suffering experience in our life, isn't it? And whatever we are going to discuss with my talker, with my speaker, we just cut off completely because we are too emotional now. And that is the bad thing. That is that is indicating we don't have control on our emotion, and it has impacted negatively on my emotion. And that's we are going to read in couple of paragraphs as well, why this happened and how we can avoid it. That is more important. So we need to avoid it. To become emotional unnecessarily for nothing is not a good indication. We have to have a proactive approach, a little bit emotionless approach, so that uh, we can reshape the situation. We can serve our customer. We can talk with my boss. I can talk with my wife. I can uh, resolve the problem with my children without going be, to become too emotional. So that's we are going to learn. And the second session, second part of today's this first session is styling of listening. If we got the time, then we will also cover the styles of the listening. That there are so many styles of people they do listening, and every style has good and bad things, pro and cons both at the same time. So let's go in and read our today's uh, hardcore and important topic, which is emotions and the listening. So we will read paragraphs all together, and so that we all will be engaging, and we will write down our question at the end of the session. So this session will last 20 minutes. So it won't be a too long, because we will need to start our next session on other topic as well. So I would ask my colleague and my friend Jenny if she can start the reading, please.
The effects of motions on listening. Along with words that affect our biases that lead to emotions, there are some areas we do not want to talk about, topics that we have an emotional reason for not wanting to discuss. These areas are also called hot buttons for us. When another person pushes our hot button with a word, phrase, or topic, our mind goes through certain filters, past experiences, beliefs, or biases connected to what the other is saying. As a defensive measure, we often tune out the talker, plan rebuttals, or formulate questions to confuse the talker.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a great reading as usual, Jenny. Um, so it is very obvious, and it's very clear text the author Madeline has written, and Jenny just have read for us, that sometimes these hot buttons we don't know, because these hot buttons are stored in my unconscious. And when somebody cleverly or even unintentionally mention, then we straight away become upset. We straight away uh, goes back in our past, what happens, and that may be because of my religious or spiritual self-limiting beliefs, because of my very painful experience when I heard these words, uh, or feel that situation. That all impacts on my listening and make me out of the conversation, out of the uh, and and also make me out of the present moment, which was the real moment. So that is the most problem and alarming thing, that we become out of the present moment, and uh, and that how we become such a bad listener, and this thing, and that does not last shorter, it lasts longer. Many people, when they come out from the negotiation or conversation by hearing these bad emotional words or talks or situation, they they can't stop themselves, and they become too emotional. Our emotions controls and clutches and put the chains on years, and our whole present movement becomes totally out of sight and situation. And sometimes it happens that we start to cry. Sometimes we become so depressive. Sometimes we start to take some depressive pills if it is some medical condition. Sometimes it becomes pain in my heart. Sometimes it turns into high blood pressure. Sometimes turns into leading to other dangerous medical illnesses as well. For nothing, just bad listening skills we have, and that's now over occupying us. So I would ask my friend Cynthia. Hello, Cynthia. Welcome to our today's class.
Good
Very glad
morning.
to see you. Morning, Cynthia. So if you can read this one for us, please.
If something is said that might cause us to change our perception, we feel threatened. Potential change in our perceptions can involve strong feelings. Often the first feelings are frustration and confusion. To reduce these feelings, we flee mentally from what is being said by turning out what the talker is saying or by distorting it so we won't have to alter our perception, belief, or opinion.
Excellent. That's a great reading. So if you see that whatever we are listening, it impact on my mind in form of perception. And remember, the perception is not the reality. Perception, 99% is a fake reality, which our mind tend to perceive as a real. And then our body is so innocent, and that start to generate chemicals, and that chemicals make us emotional. Yeah. So for perceiving a fake thing in my mind, and my innocent body start to generate that emotions, and that is going to take me out of the context, out of the conversation, out of the circle of the what I'm talking about. It is creating a negative impact, the relationship between me and my wife, between me and my husband, between me and my boss and my colleague and my friend. And more importantly, it is not good between me and my customer. Do you know that many seller, when they are selling something, and if they are too sensitive, they become very emotional with the customer, and rather than to solve the problem of the customer, they become too personal, and that also very unprofessional, and that's how it is uh, not good. So author is also saying, to reduce this feeling, we flee mentally from what is being sent. Of course, escaping is the solution at that time, and we go in a silence and start maybe smoke cigarette, or maybe a glass of wine, and or something, maybe in sexual activities, or could be everybody has a very different approach how to deal or how to interact in this situation. So we will see further in a quick story of uh, uh, employee. Her name is June. So we will see what he's saying. So I would ask Hasini, if I'm pronouncing correctly, Hasini, if you can read it for us, please.
Yes, sure. Experiencing high emotions, either positive or negative, usually interferes with listening ability. Strong feelings are one barrier that influences effective listening, and they sometimes cause confusion and the taking in of information in a disorganized manner, as illustrated by June's experience. I'm a caseworker, which means I deal with people who come into our agency for help finding a job. I was so sympathetic to what they were saying, I became overly emotional and found it difficult to think objectively. When I did this, I couldn't think effectively and then obtain all the information I needed to match the client to the proper job.
Excellent. It's a wonderful reading. Thank you. Uh, so if you see that how it is influencing negatively to a real employee, her name is June, and she is becoming too emotional. And if you see that cartoon, that is also narrating that same thing, that June had developed a habit of listening almost entirely with her feelings. As a result, she was not taking in the kinds of information she needed to get her job done properly. She often became very anxious, which accelerated her tension level. Isn't it? That's everyday story, but we ignore it. We think that is a part of our life to become emotional, to listen, and it impacts all relationship about our around us, with my partner, with my children. Uh, I often listen from many parents. They become too emotional with children, and rather than to handle the children with their own, their at their own place, they become in their own childhood, and they become too uh, emotional, and they are not able to resolve the problem of the children or understand because they are too emotional. So that's how we are such a poor listener, and that is the purpose of our today's reading. So that's it. That is a quick reading. Now we have I have created two exercise for you. And get ready your pen and paper or your digital notes. Number one exercise you can do right now, and I will ask a question for this, that write down three different situations when you did listen and became very emotional unexpectedly in personal or professional or social life. And of course, it was over emotional you became, and it was unnecessarily you were. So think about what were these situations, because if we will not able to locate our poor listening skill uh, uh, because of our uh, too much emotional what is called personality or character, that we cannot fix it for future. So I would like anybody can share their personal story or professional story when or you can speak on someone's story as well, if somebody became emotional and it impacted negatively on listening skill. Remember, we all are reading this to improving our listening skill, and we are reading how emotions are negative, impactful on our current life as a listener when we listen. So anybody can share any story before I go to my next exercise, which is again for 1 or 2 minutes. Is that interesting? That could be related with your own personal connection, a relationship with your children, with your parents, with your wife or husband or your partner, with your customer, um, or your boss, your employee, your colleague at work, or anything it could be. Yeah. Eh, I know there are so many stories which you may have, but you need to take a little bit quality time to discover them and to acknowledge it. And then we can and we are able to fix them for future. Isn't it? Uh, yeah, Cynthia has something. She's saying, I had to pay tribute to someone who had passed away. Not easy to do because very distracted, forgot my words. Yeah, it is very according to reality. I will ask my Facebook audience if they have any comment on my Facebook page. Okay, so let's go to the exercise 2. And now it is to work on me, work on yourself, that we need to control for future. We don't need to emotional. And what we need to do if we become emotional? In somebody use red flag word. We learned about red flag word in last two, I think the second last Sunday. So you can, so when you heard these negative words which generate the negative feelings in you, how you can make sure that you are a listener and you will solve or address the properly how it should be as a family member, as a customer, as a colleague, as a boss, as a community person, whatever unit. We have to do this. And this is our homework for today. That we need to do it and everybody needs to do. You can write down, and after this session, whenever you get that private time, you need to do this. That's it. I think I have other reading for style of listening. It is a little lengthy topic to read. Style of listening. I think I will put this style of listening to the next Sunday at the same time. Uh, so far, anybody has any question? Anybody wants to share something? Anybody have any comment about what we uh, learned, what we read, or before we go to our next? Let me open my next slide for you until you can think any question for me, please. Or, um, yeah, any comment. Where is that? Let me greet my Facebook. Some people are online. Who are they? Hello, Baha Kerry and Mainit Ong. I'm very sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name incorrectly. Please apologize me. Okay, so let me open our other, and that is our. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, and. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I got it now. Let me put in a proper format.